love how everyone screams like, ah! Everyone thinks the cat's gonna die. I found this video on YouTube over here. How do cats jump from incredible heights and survive?
32 stories above the streets of New York City, a cat fell from a window.
Now, 32 stories? Is that even possible? Because from 32 stories, you would think that they would reach free fall speed. And it doesn't really matter. Okay, yeah, I gotta watch this. I gotta figure this out.
And lived. After vets treated the cat's chipped tooth and collapsed lungs, the feline was sent home 2 days later. Cats fall a lot.
Okay, so that was from 32 stories. So I know if they can survive from 32 stories, 5 stories shouldn't be that scary. But okay, so I don't know if this YouTube video is going to talk about this, but if you've ever tossed a cat into the air, it doesn't matter in which direction they're going. The cats have this unbelievable balance mechanism in their brain that allows them, and they have a flexible spine, and they can turn their entire bodies, and that's why it always seems like they fall on their feet. But if you notice in this video, the cat doesn't have to do that. He just jumps straight down, and the entire time he's gonna land on his feet. So whether he survives or not is going to depend on how much force these paws and his legs are going to be able to use. And he bounces off the ground and seemingly unharmed. So, but we don't really get to see the cat after that. So let's take a look at this video and learn some of the science behind this.
And they've gotten really good at it. Drop a cat upside down, for example, and it will almost always land on its feet. That's because cats are extremely flexible. They can twist their bodies mid-air as they...
And not only are they extremely flexible, but there's something in the cat's brain, and I think the same kind of thing that we have in our ears, like that allows them to sense their own equilibrium. And I haven't seen this video, but I saw a different video more in depth about that, and it's really amazing.
They fall. But landing feet first isn't always the best strategy. Like if you're falling from 32 stories up.
Well, that's what I was thinking with this cat falling 5 stories, because, well, its bones are going to break. And here's the thing about, like, in nature, if your bones break, if you're a cat, you're going to die. It's like a death sentence. So, but if that's not, well, what are you going to do? Land on your chest? I mean, of course, wouldn't you rather have a broken leg than...
To figure out how cats manage that perfect landing every time, a series of studies looked at over 100 cats' falls from 2 to 32 stories up. Comes as no surprise that cats who fell from the 2nd floor had fewer injuries than cats who fell from the 6th floor.
But you see what's interesting here. Okay, so our cat in this yesterday, the building's on fire. The cat jumps 5 floors. He walks away unharmed. Cats are more likely to get harmed on the 3rd and 4th than they are from the 5th. And I bet one of the reasons is cats have more time to correct themselves in the air the higher they go, the higher they are. Like, for example, don't judge me too harshly, whoever's watching this video, but I've owned several cats in my life, and when I was a kid, I used to toss one of my cats into the air. Not very high into the air. I was much smaller too. I would toss him into the air, and I would watch him flip and land perfectly. But it's dangerous, and people shouldn't do that. And if I knew what I know now, I would not have done that, because the cat needs to have enough time to balance itself and land the way it wants to land. And if the cat isn't falling high enough in the air, it doesn't have enough time to correct its trajectory to the ground. So I definitely do not test this theory by tossing your cat into the air.
But here is the fascinating part. Above the 7th story, the extent of the injuries largely stayed the same, no matter how high the cats fell. So how is that possible? Well, it all comes down to acrobatics, or lack thereof. Cats that fell from 2 to 7 stories up mostly landed feet first.
But I'm a little curious as to how a cat would fall higher than 7 stories and not land on its feet and survive. Like, is there something about their organs?
Above that, however, cats used a different technique. Instead of positioning their legs straight down as they fell, they splayed out like a parachuter and landed belly first instead.
But how can they land belly first and not have their organs crushed? That's what I don't understand.
This method isn't 100% foolproof.
And what if there's a rock or like a stick or something?
Chest trauma, like a collapsed lung or broken rib, is more common with this landing method. But the risk of breaking a leg is much less.
But I suppose it doesn't really matter because, like, in nature, either way, you're going to die if you're the cat. If you break a leg, you're going to die. If you puncture a lung, you're going to die. So if you're falling from 32 stories and you're for sure going to break your leg, well, you might as well splay out because, But here from this 5-story building, the cat... I don't know. He kind of splays out a little bit, but he lands on his feet though. Yeah, he landed right on his feet and bounced up. So very interesting.
So, how do cats somehow subconsciously know how to land?
I think I remember the answer to this, and I think it's their equilibrium inside their ears or their brains.
It has to do with a physics phenomenon called terminal velocity. At first, the cat plummets faster and faster under gravity until she's fallen the equivalent of 5 stories.
Well, that's what I meant by, like, when I said earlier. Okay, if they're falling fast enough to reach terminal velocity, I don't think it matters whether or not they're 32 feet or 7 feet or whatever, because I think they're going to be falling at the same rate of speed either way. And I'm pretty sure I'm right about that.
At that point, she hits constant terminal velocity at 100 kilometers per hour.
See, so it doesn't matter whether or not it's 32 stories, 42 stories, 102 stories. The cat is always going to be falling at 100 kilometers per hour to the ground and is going to land on its belly and somehow is going to survive. It's incredible.
She's now in free fall, where air friction counteracts her acceleration under gravity. At this point, she's no longer accelerating and, more importantly, doesn't feel the pull from gravity.
I know this is going to be a silly comment, but it's always interesting to me that something falling at terminal velocity and not accelerating is the same as if the ground is racing up towards you. So it's almost like the earth is moving upwards towards you at 100 kilometers an hour and is going to slam into you. Oh, it's the most creepy thing in the world. I feel so sorry for anything that has to deal with this, let alone innocent cat.
So here's what researchers think is happening. From 2 to 7 stories up, cats don't have enough time to reach terminal velocity and prep for landing feet first.
No, wait. I see.
Think is happening. From 2 to 7 stories up, cats don't have enough time to reach terminal velocity and prep for landing feet first.
Okay, so if they had more time, they would probably still splay. And it kind of makes sense because you can break your legs from 5 stories up too. They don't have enough time to prep for it, apparently, which is interesting. And like I said, even if you, even the simple fact of like tossing a cat in the air, which don't do, I did when I was a kid, but tossing a cat in the air and seeing the cat flip and land, you got to give the cat. It's more safe for the cat if you toss them higher, because if you toss the cat very high up, as high as you can throw the cat's going to be totally fine. But if you kind of just toss the cat off your table or something, the cat can injure itself very easily. I mean, it could injure its shoulder. I mean, it could land on its head. I mean, so tossing a cat even from the table, like, you know, I see people do it all the time. The cat is annoying. It's on the desk and they kind of just toss the cat off. And they assume that the cat is going to land okay. And look, most of the time it will. But it's more likely the cat is going to hurt itself just tossing it off your desk and like jumping from the top of your house.
But once they hit terminal velocity, their instinct changes and they parachute their limbs. All that said, don't throw your cat out of a window. I can't believe I have to say this. Not only is it still very dangerous, it's not very polite.
But there's probably nothing wrong with tossing your cat up in the air. Probably everything is going to be okay. But you know, one mistake and the cat is hurt, and it is very bad. It's very bad. So don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, but so please ignore the fact that I used to toss my cat into the air. My cat always landed perfectly. Nothing bad ever happened to the cat. Looking back on it. But still, this is an amazing video. I love it. I guess I don't love it, but it's just so great that the cat was able to save itself. You know, the cat had the wherewithal to buildings on fire. I have to jump from 5 stories. Perfect. Perfect landing for this cat. Leave a comment below. Tell me how horrible I am for tossing a cat into the sky and seeing that it lands perfectly every time. Okay, I'm an idiot. Okay, please leave a comment below. Tell me how bad I am.